In today's video I'll be completing Hitman's A Gilded Cage with no HUD, suit only, silent assassin on master difficulty. In Agent 47's third mission he finds himself in the city of Marrakesh in Morocco with two new targets in his sights. I will let Diana explain the premise.
Good afternoon, 47. Your destination is Marrakesh, Morocco, where civil riots are looming. Your targets are private banker Klaus Strandberg and Army General Reza Zaidan, two of the conspirators in a sinister plot to overthrow Morocco's fragile government. Strandberg, a former bank CEO who stole billions of dollars worth of savings from the Moroccan people, was facing trial for investment fraud. But early this morning, a band of heavily armed mercenaries freed Strandberg from his prison transport, resulting in the death of several police officers. Strandberg now takes refuge at his native Swedish consulate, in front of which crowds of angry protesters have gathered, demanding his handover to Moroccan authorities. We believe General Zaidan orchestrated Strandberg's escape to infuriate the public and spark nationwide riots, allowing Zaidan to impose martial law. Operating out of a field HQ at a nearby abandoned school, he will no doubt use the riots to depict the Rabat government as weak and inept, and persuade the general staff to support a fully fledged military coup in the name of national security. Our client, building contractor Hamilton Lowe, who stands to lose a fortune in government contracts, has hired us to prevent the coup d'etat. To do so, you need to paralyze Zaidan's rebel forces and prevent the riots from escalating further, hence the double contract. This is quite the political powder keg, 47, so be careful. The fate of a nation is at stake. I will leave you to prepare.
The mission is simply to assassinate both targets, but of course with a couple of additional conditions. No HUD means in the final run I'll complete the mission without any on-screen prompts or help, other than the silent assassin and master difficulty icons, just so you know I'm not cheating. Suit only means the suit I start in is the suit I must leave in with no changes in between. Silent assassin means that nobody can know I was there, so the target's bodies either need to be hidden or the assassination needs to look like an accident. The loadout for the mission will be the same as the last episode. It will be the original starting location, 47 signature suit, the ICA gold baller, lockpick MK3 and 3 coins. And as always, the video will be broken down into 2 stages. The first stage will be the plan, where I will be methodically working my way through the level, scoping out the areas, finding the best passages and routes, and coming up with the best plan of action, and of course making lots and lots of mistakes. The second stage will be the execution, where all HUD options will be turned off and I'll complete the mission based upon the plan we designed in stage 1. Welcome to Supercut, the series where we take an entire let's play or game and condense it into one video. My name is Mr. Supercut and this is A Gilded Cage. In run 1, I woke up from a daydream in a random part of town where the unfolding protests had captured everybody's attention. I headed out and was hounded by a merchant to try and buy one of her plates. When I showed no interest, she turned her back to me and wandered away. A little further down the road, I overheard a man and a woman talking about how the man's father was doing. The father was heavily invested in writing a novel and was residing with his son in the shop. It was revealed that the father was headmaster of the local school for 30 years and still carried the master key around with him as a sort of memento of his glory days. I headed to the roof of the shop and found the old man buried in his writing and a guard that was currently patrolling back and forth, so couldn't find a way to knock the old man out and get the key. I headed back down the stairs and tried to pass by some guards who very quickly told me to get lost. I then found a brick on the sidewalk to use as a weapon, headed back into the shop, but the son spotted me as I began heading up the stairs as I was trespassing. But I carried on up, launched the brick at the old man's head, picked up the master key and then restarted the run, as I definitely could have done that without being spotted. In run 2, I picked up the brick, headed up the stairs of the shop, saw that the guard had moved away, launched the brick at the old man's head, picked up the key, dumped his body, knocked out the guard, dumped his body, headed back down the stairs avoiding the son's gaze, and then flitted about the area trying to figure out what the heck to do next. I was stopped by a guard from going any further and then read a document regarding the printing schedule of something or other, but it was fairly meaningless to me at at this point. I carried on looking for something to do and then checked my map to see if I could learn anything. I found another entrance where a guard turned me away, and this mission began to feel like it would be impossible as there was absolutely no access to the school apart from one of these 3 routes that were all being heavily guarded. I continued flitting about the place, stole a screwdriver from the local body shop, headed back to the entrance with the well, ducked down and then got told off. Saved the game just in case anything happened, shorted the circuits of one of the phone boxes, which turned out to be too far away from the guard, shorted the circuits of the other phone box, which the guard spotted me doing, and so I just stabbed him with a screwdriver and then got gunned down by his friend. In run 3 I decided to restart from the beginning as opposed to the save, but I'm not sure why. I picked up the brick and screwdriver, headed up the stairs, knocked out the old man, dumped his body, nabbed his key, headed back out and back over to the entrance by the well, and this time I decided to toss a coin to see if that would attract the attention of the guard, which it did. He came over to investigate, I knocked him out, dumped his body, picked up his rifle, almost got spotted carrying the rifle by a civilian, so dropped it on the floor, picked it up again, hid it in plain sight, then tried to sneak into the area that was currently restricted, but instead of hiding behind the green crate, 47 decided to hug the wall instead, and so I was caught trespassing and asked to leave. I quickly removed myself from the potential altercation as I am the bigger person, and then snuck up behind him because I'm also a coward. I knocked him out and dragged his body around looking for a hiding spot. As I was about to drag him toward the other unconscious body, a civilian came round the corner, and so I just left him lying there in the street. I waited for the civilian to back away, but he didn't, and then he spotted the body I'd so carefully splayed across the floor. I took them both out and then headed toward the school to see what I could find. I flitted around and hid behind boxes, accidentally making one of the guards jump a mile. I headed through the door but didn't realise that a guard was peering out of the window as I shot past, which automatically put me into the combat status. I held my own for a little while and then got absolutely shafted. In run 4 I noticed that all of the NPCs folded their arms at exactly the same time, which was awfully unnerving, almost like they'd all been expecting me. I made a dash for the well and carried out the same ploy as last time, that is, coin, knockout, dump, knockout, drag, drop. I headed back out to the well to see what this civilian got up to, and he just smoked a cigarette and then went on his merry way. I headed back to the guard, dragged, dumped and plodded on. I dropped the rifle against the wall as I didn't want to be seen carrying it, but in hindsight I don't think that would have made any difference. I avoided the guard in the school compound, unlocked the nearby entrance, hid behind the crates, avoided the guards patrolling, unlocked the next door and then hid behind the crates out of fear I might be spotted again from the guard peering out of the window. I quickly headed over to the wall and crouched below a second window just as the guard came to lean out of the other window, and after he'd moved on I climbed through, picked up a toy tank because why not, and then climbed up through a massive hole in the floor. I picked up some rat poison and then climbed out of the window and then changed my mind and climbed back in. I thought General Zaydan was about to enter into the room where a toilet was conveniently placed for me to be able to drop it onto his head, but I was mistaken. Instead I overheard 2 guards sharing some distasteful opinions of the General. I hid behind the bathroom stall and noticed the General peering over a nearby balcony, but with so many guards about it would have been impossible to push him out without being spotted. I climbed back out of the window and shimmied across to the adjacent room, climbed through and listened to a fairly boring conversation of the General going over his nefarious plan to one of his lieutenants. After the General had moved on, I quickly scarpered across the floor, but not quick enough, and a guard came to investigate. I managed to avoid his detection and then realised I was completely stuck in this room with guards patrolling every area. I headed down the corridor and quickly jumped out of the window onto the ledge, got spotted, shot and killed, banging my shiny head on the ledge as I fell. In run 5 I headed straight to the well and carried out the same plan, except this time a lot cleaner. I made my way into the school, and whilst crouching behind the boxes I accidentally alerted one of the guards and then got spotted when making a break for it. I was gunned down, so restarted the run. In run 6 I headed back to the well and took out the first guard, but in attempting to take out the second guard he spotted me. I managed to knock him out and dumped his body without any witnesses and carried on. This time I tried getting clever and hopped over the boxes whilst the patrolling guard had his back turned, but because it took so long to pick the lock he turned and immediately spotted me. I attempted to gun them down but missed almost every single shot at very close range. I entered the school armed with a rifle, which is not a sentence I feel comfortable saying, and gunned down some more of the General's men. Eventually I was bested and so restarted. In run 7 I made my way to the school and managed to get through with no issues. I whizzed past the open windows before anybody could see me, climbed through and then got spotted by a guard I hadn't noticed. Of course they all engaged me in combat, and because I'm no John Wick it didn't take long before I was wiped out. In run 8 again I made it into the school with no issues, but this time whilst hiding behind the crates I made the wise decision to save the game. This time I climbed through the nearby window and sort of just waited about for something interesting to happen. Unfortunately nothing did, so I had to create my own entertainment by accidentally getting myself spotted by the guard. He fired off a couple of rounds alerting everybody else, an alarm began to ring and then I was killed. In run 9 I reloaded from the save point, climbed through the window again, and again just sort of sat around and waited for something to happen. Eventually I was able to knock out the patrolling guard and hide his body, but this didn't mean much as there were still hundreds of guards all over the place. More hiding, more waiting, and eventually I managed to distract the nearby guard with a coin, knocked him out and dumped his body too. I found a weird peephole in the wall to the adjacent room which didn't give me much information, so I picked the lock and opened the door instead. This led into a room with 2 guards who wandered about with no real goals, and after watching them for a little while I got spotted by the guard who consistently pushed his head through the window from the outside. I miraculously took him and his friend out without causing any further disturbances and went back to watching these 2 guards patrol the nearby room. Eventually, after feeling like I understood their patrol patterns, I dashed in and knocked them both out and then dumped their bodies. I then continued forward and made sure not to get spotted by the guard who spotted me previously. I attempted to place my rifle in the bin but instead dumped my gold baller, had to retrieve that and then dumped the rifle. I then picked up the toy tank, but because I'd taken so long with the stupid bin, the guard turned and came to investigate. I tried to climb up through the broken floor but unfortunately was spotted and threatened. I launched the tank straight for his face, which alerted the 2 nearby guards, and then quickly took them out, went back and snapped the other guard's neck, and then wandered into the adjacent room to see if there was any further intel. I found a school intercom, which I turned on, which was connected to a microphone that was sat on a desk in front of 2 chairs. I then realised that this was exactly what I needed to ensure a successful assassination of the general, so with that, restarted the run. In run 10 I reloaded from the save point again, headed through the locked door and then through the window, making sure to hide from the patrolling guards. I then headed over to the intercom and noticed that the 2 chairs were now occupied by 2 soldiers who couldn't keep their mouths shut. They had been slandering the general left, right and centre, and with the help of the intercom, unbeknownst to them, every soul in the building was now listening in on these outrageous claims. After heading up through the hole in the floor, I spotted the general heading straight for me, thinking he was going to make a left, but instead just proceeded right into the room I was hiding. Of course, he spotted me, so I shot him dead, which alerted the nearby guard who came to shoot me. With that, I quickly restarted the run as I knew what I needed to do to take out the general. In run 11, I made sure that after turning on the intercom, I was out of sight when the general entered the room. He peered over the hole in the floor and then headed down to berate his soldiers. With that, I dropped a dirty toilet onto his head, which completely flattened him. All I had to do now was plan my escape from the school and the general would be taken care of. Whilst attempting to leave the school alleyway, I hopped over the crates to which a guard came to investigate. I hopped back over and weirdly wasn't spotted, and then when trying to hop the crate again, I accidentally climbed through the nearby window. I quickly jumped into the locker and hid from the guards, making sure to keep watch of the minimap so I knew when the guard outside had moved along. I jumped back out of the window and the patrolling guard spotted me again and came to investigate again. I managed to evade him and then quickly headed back out, avoiding the final patrolling guard. I had just taken out one of the targets completely undetected, making the assassination look like an accident. So next up was the banker. Nearby, a local shoe shop had been converted into a base of operation for the soldiers, and I easily managed to gain access by hopping the barrier when the guard's back was turned. I leaned against the wall and eavesdropped on a conversation between 2 soldiers where they were talking about how they had the easiest job of anybody because nobody knew about the secret tunnel. One of them quickly realised that he'd forgotten to leave the all-access keycard in the underground car park and so swiftly headed out in order to leave it somewhere. As he moved away, I moved in and began to follow him. As he headed down a set of stairs, he spotted me and so came to investigate. After he decided that he must have been seeing things, another guard spotted me and came to investigate, meaning the guard carrying the all-access keycard had now gained a major head start. I waited for the guard to move away and then quickly hurried down into the underground facility, noticing 2 guards occupying the upper floor. I managed to sneak past them and continue to follow the keycard guard, who annoyingly stopped to have another conversation. After they'd finished chatting, I launched a hammer at the guard's head, which keycard guard heard and came back to investigate. He saw me and raised his weapon, so he too received a hammer to the head. I picked up the keycard and dumped both bodies in the nearby locker and pressed onward. In the next section, I knocked out the first guard and began dragging his body away, which somehow was seen by a distant guard who clearly had cheat codes activated because he could apparently see through walls. He sprinted over in an effort to arrest me, to which I said no thanks, and then another guard sprinted over to kill me, to which I said absolutely not. I read a piece of paper which had intel relating to the general and then continued up the stairs, knocked out the next guard and pressed on toward the underground car park. I went to save the game here but realised that I was currently working from an already saved file, so just had to deal with the fact that if I messed up I had to make a full reset. I climbed through a nearby window, flicked the generator, knocked out the investigating guard and headed out. I spent a lot of time ducking behind cars and avoiding the gaze of a single patrolling guard, but was eventually able to slip past him and finally head toward the Swedish consulate. As I headed toward a door with a keycard entry system, I failed to spot a camera, which did not fail to spot me. I shot it down out of pure frustration over anything else, as the guards in the car park were now completely aware of my presence. I headed through the door and up the stairs anyway and found a staircase immediately to my left, which I immediately climbed. I entered through a small storage room out onto a balcony above a television set which had 2 security guards standing watch. As I stood there watching and waiting, the banker appeared, almost inviting me to try. To try what? I had no idea because he was completely surrounded by armed guards. He leaned over the balcony, said a few words to the subjects down below and then moved on. It happened so quickly I barely had time to think, but for now it was good enough to know that he definitely made his way to this specific area because I knew that I could definitely make it to this area as well without being spotted. The only hindrance now was figuring out how long it took him to circle the upper floor of the consulate and how on planet Earth I was supposed to take him out. I headed back into the storage room and switched on the nearby vacuum cleaner, to which a guard came to investigate. I knocked him out, dumped the body and then headed back out onto the balcony to launch my trusty hammer at yet another head. In doing so, somebody, somewhere, spotted the altercation, but I insisted on dragging the body away and dumping it beside his comrade. I was no longer safe, no matter which way I turned, and so headed through the nearest door to avoid the investigating businessman. Unfortunately, this brought me face to face with another guard, so I took him out and dragged his body to the same storage room that his friend currently occupied, but there was no room for him in the box, so he just had to remain sprawled across the floor. The businessman had finally moved away from the balcony, so I headed to the door at the end, but was unfortunately spotted by the guard and he tried to escort me off the property. As he began to lead the way, I launched my hammer at his head, which was spotted by somebody else, and then quickly ducked into the room next door. I found a winch that was tied to a moose that was hanging from the ceiling, and when I released said winch, it dropped said moose onto the green screen. This could have worked as an assassination, but I had no idea how to make the banker sit in the chair. I was still being hunted, so took out a few guards and then got killed. For run 12, I started from the very beginning, headed over to the well, but got caught dragging one of the guards toward the container, so hit restart. For run 13, after dumping the guard's body, a civilian noticed me carrying a rifle on my back and ran to tell on me, so again hit restart. In run 14, when starting at the beginning, I noticed a brick on the floor immediately to my right, so picked it up and headed to the well. I cracked the brick over the first guard's head, but then had the idea that if I choked the first guard, I could use the brick as a projectile for the second guard, saving a few seconds in the long run. So in run 15, that's exactly what I did. After taking out the guards, I headed through the shoe shop as I was confident that the general wouldn't be an issue. This time I waited for the guard to head down the staircase and then followed after him to ensure he didn't spot me. I knocked out the 2 guards on the upper floor and dumped their bodies, headed down the stairs, knocked out the next guard and dumped his body, then knocked out the next guard but was spotted by another guard, so swiftly took him out with a silenced headshot, then took out the next few guards and chased after the keycard guard to see where he took and left the keycard. I attempted to follow him but very quickly lost sight and then took out another guard who wasn't carrying a keycard at all. I tried to move his body but was caught doing so and thus proceeded a lengthy firefight. I actually managed to take out all of the guards that descended on my location and then managed to find the keycard guard amidst the massive corpses and so picked up the all-access keycard. I headed up the stairs and crept past the guards that stood absolutely oblivious to the fact that all of their colleagues had been slaughtered in what can only be described as an actual war crime. I headed into the storage room, turned on the vacuum, killed the guard, knocked out the other guard again, alerting somebody on the ground floor to come take a look, sort of just stood around and waited for a little while as nothing happened, and then as the banker began approaching the balcony, I saved the game. I crept up behind him as he called down to the peasants below and then just pushed him over the railings. Of course, I got spotted doing this, so restarted the run. In run 16, I loaded from where I had just saved the game and this time tossed a coin which the banker came to investigate. I then tossed another coin into the storage room and as he began to enter, I grabbed him from behind the door, choked him out and then snapped his spindly neck. As I was leaving the area back through the underground car park, I was told in the little corner box that the banker's body had been found, but I knew that nobody passed through the storage room just off their own accord, which meant that my tossing of the coin also brought somebody from the ground floor up to the top floor to investigate. This was a massive problem because it meant that assassinating the banker would be a lot more difficult than I originally anticipated, as I wasn't able to hide the body due to the two guards already occupying the box. I headed back and obviously got spotted, so restarted the run. I started run 17 from the reloaded save point, tossed a coin and knocked out the banker, and then headed to the other side of the storage room to knock out the oncoming investigator. Before I could knock him out, he did spot the unconscious body, so this tactic wouldn't do. In run 18, I tried knocking the banker out and then leaving his body out on the balcony, breaking his arm in the process, so when anyone investigating came through the storage room, they wouldn't see anything. However, this time nobody came to investigate. The only person around was the guard who always patrolled the staircase, so I knocked him out and dragged his body along with the banker's body into the storage room, snapped the banker's neck, and then headed out. I headed back out through the shoe shop, but not before attempting to knock out the two guards for absolutely no reason whatsoever. When strangling one, the other heard me and then just gunned me down. In run 19, I started the mission afresh and headed over to the school to practice taking out the general again. The reason for this was because I had already decided for the final run that I'd assassinate the general first and the banker second, so if I was going to get the timings right for the banker, then it was best that I assassinated the general first. Everything was going smoothly until I made a stupid mistake of crossing the sightlines of the guard by the door. I managed to get some clean headshots and then got mowed down. Run 20 saw me back at the school and this time I managed to take out the general without any complications other than almost getting spotted on my way out. After making it out of the alleyway, I ran straight into the path of another guard, so shot him dead and then continued on toward the shoe shop. I followed the keycard guard down the stairs and took him out halfway down and then got spotted by another guard whilst dragging his body toward the locker. I shot him dead and then dragged and dumped his body too. I managed to make it a little bit further before getting spotted and shot at, but it got a little bit ridiculous, so hit restart. In run 21, I went a slightly different route to begin with, picking up some more weapons in order to speed up the process of taking out the first two guards, but in hindsight, because I went a longer route, it actually didn't speed up the process at all, and if anything made it longer. I headed to the school, killed the general, and then managed to make it out without any problems at all. I headed to the shoe shop and followed the keycard guard down the stairs, but alerted the guards, so had to take them out along with keycard guard. I decided that as I was still working out how to actually kill the banker as opposed to practicing a clean run, I could just kill all the remaining guards, so that is what I did. But then, for some reason, I headed backwards and blasted every soldier I saw to Kingdom Come. After an absolute massacre, I was eventually taken out and so restarted the run. In run 22, after taking out the general, I headed to the shoe shop to use the secret tunnel, but tried to knock out the keycard guard before he went down the stairs, and unfortunately this was heard by one of the nearby guards, and so I hit restart. In run 23, I headed straight for the shoe shop and got caught knocking out the keycard guard on the stairs, so hit restart. In run 24, I launched a brick at keycard guard's head and nobody heard nor saw the incident, which was a massive win as it meant that if I could do this on the final run, I wouldn't have to chase him through the underground tunnels in order to pick up the keycard. He would drop it right at the entrance. I knocked out all the guards and dumped all of their bodies except the second to last guard, who just before getting his lights knocked out witnessed a shiny bald head gleaming under the fluorescent lighting. I continued through the underground car park, making sure not to get spotted by hiding behind the parked cars, took out the camera, entered into the consulate, up the stairs, switched on the vacuum, knocked out the guard, and then realised that the banker was stood out on the balcony right where I wanted him. I knocked out the second guard and then headshot the banker, but everybody noticed this, so it was an easy restart. In run 25 it was the same as the last run, but this time I didn't get spotted in the underground tunnels. With the last guard at the stretch of tunnels, I tried throwing the hammer at his head as I had done many times before, but this time I missed for some reason and just tossed the hammer to the top of the staircase, which I imagine would have been the strangest thing that had ever happened to this man. I hid behind the post and knocked him out and then carried on. When entering into the main part of the car park, I got spotted, so restarted. In run 26, it was back to the school, took out the general, then to the shoe shop, took out the keycard guard at the top of the stairs who unfortunately got spotted by one of the guards below. I took them both out with headshots and then pressed onward. Whilst creeping through the car park, I got spotted again and murdered in cold blood. In run 27, after taking out the general, I passed through the shoe shop, took out all of the guards as quietly as I could, worked my way through the car park without being spotted, climbed the stairs to the consulate, took out the first guard, took out the second guard, waited for the banker to show up, and then saved the game. I shot the target dead, which did alert somebody to my presence, but I managed to see them coming from a mile away, so made sure to drag the banker's body back out onto the balcony so when the woman came through the storage room to investigate, she wouldn't see the body on the floor. On paper, my plan was foolproof. But in practice, I hadn't accounted for the guard stood at the top of the staircase who came running as soon as my hands were wrapped around the woman's neck. In run 28, I restarted from the save point and managed to draw the banker to his demise using a single gold coin. What he'd spent his entire life chasing and building ended up being his deathly downfall. Nobody came to investigate this time, which was slightly problematic for me, as in the final run I wouldn't have the use of instinct to determine if anybody was coming to investigate. Regardless, I headed back out the way I came and managed to make it out without a scrape, headed all the way back to the original starting location and escaped through a gate. I had finally completed the run meeting the silent assassin suit only conditions, so now it was time to finally attempt the perfect run by removing the HUD. I attempted the perfect run 9 times before giving up. I tossed a brick over a guard's shoulder instead of directly at his head. I got spotted climbing out of a window after killing the general. I got spotted using the banker as a mop. I tossed a brick at a wall instead of directly at the guard's head. I got spotted hopping over the barrier to the shoe shop, arguably the easiest part of the entire run. I got spotted putting the banker into a stranglehold. After 9 attempts, I reloaded from the most recent save where the banker was peering over the balcony and managed to throw him off without getting spotted, so decided this was the correct way to deal with him. On the 10th attempt, I got caught doing something dodgy to the wiring of the nearby lighting, which I'd never done before, even on the practice run, so I have no idea why I was wasting this opportunity. After 10 failed attempts, I decided it was time to head back to the practice run, so turned all the HUD options back on and entered into run 29. After taking out the general and heading to the underground tunnel system, I stole one of the soldiers' uniforms as all I needed to work on now was the final section regarding the death of the banker. For some reason, soldiers weren't welcome on the top floor, so I stole a security guard's uniform and began exploring the top floor to see if there was any other possible way I could take out the target. One of the guards saw through my awesome disguise, so I had no choice but to put him down, along with a side of witness, but decided to restart as it did get a bit stupid. In run 30, I picked up the screwdriver from underneath the giant army truck, headed back up the stairs, and this time decided to fix the lights as I truly believed this would come in handy. As a security guard, I headed into the nearby booth that overlooked the balcony and recording studio below and waited for the target to touch the metal handrail. I then switched on the nearby stage lamp, the one I just craftily rewired, and to my delight the target fried like a KFC bargain bucket. This was exactly what I had been looking for, so I quickly restarted the run from my most recent save point, which was just before taking out keycard guard. In run 31, I methodically worked my way through the guards, patrolling the area as it was important to attempt what had just taken place without the use of a guard's uniform. I made my way to the storage room without any issues, took out both security guards, rewired the lamp, dumped the bodies, headed toward the booth, knocked out the guard, turned on the lamp, headed back down the stairs and through the car park, and as I was making my way out of the shoe shop, it was finally confirmed that the target had been taken care of. Whilst top of the barrier, I did get spotted, but that was fine as I had actually finally found the path I'd be taking to complete the perfect run. So, without further ado, I present to you my no HUD, suit only, silent assassin, master difficulty run of a Gilded Cage.
What? Strandberg is a lunatic.
No, he is, Captain.
What should we do? If Crystal Dog get emotional. Matters of national security, but I just want to.
Man, I got a disturbance. Looking into it.
You're in. Good work, 47. Now to locate General Zaydan.
It's not like Zayden is even the lead from the front kind of guy, you know? I mean, he graduated from West Point, la-di-da-da, flying colors and all. But has he seen actual combat? Not unless you count enhanced interrogation. Go hard with a pair of pliers. That's all he really is. You got that right. Thing is, it's not like Zayden is even the lead from the front kind of guy, you know? I mean, he graduated from West Point, la-di-da-da, flying colors and all. But has he seen actual combat? Not unless you count enhanced interrogation. Blow hard with a pair of pliers. That's all he really is. You're not wrong, that's for sure. I tell ya, I don't care what anyone says, that Zayden's not all he's cracked up to be.
What the bloody... Those dogs are going to regret this.
If anybody's listening, that's just as bad. Okay, just shush already. He's a busy man. Chances are he didn't hear anything. Just be cool. Be cool.
Right. Yeah, you're right. No harm done. No harm done.
Are you completely out of your minds? You think you can just disrespect your superiors without consequences?
Me again.
Target down. Move on to Klaus Strandberg.
Who'd you have to salute to get this post?
Not bad, huh? I figure since no one knows about the escape tunnel, this is the easiest gig in town. I mean, all we gotta do is... Oh, shit!
What?
Shit! I forgot to leave the all-access keycard in the parking garage.
You kidding?
I need to get back there before XO tears me a new one.
All right, I'll hold down the fort. Take the tunnel, it's way faster.
Yeah.
You made it. Most impressive, 47. Now to locate Klaus Strandberg.
have an understanding.
Yeah, sure, of course. I just don't think the involved. Kingsley and his people should have arrived. I knew it was true. Let me know when they get here.
target's down. Now head towards an exit.
Love the tie. What is that?